Sir Isaac Newton is undeniably one of the most influential figures in history. His groundbreaking discoveries and laws form the foundation of much of modern science. Newton's principles are crucial to understanding everyday phenomena, from the movement of cars to the flight of baseballs. Yet, there was a hidden side to his life, a complexity that reveals a much more intriguing and multifaceted man. Born on Christmas Day, 1642, in the small English village of Woolsthorpe Manor, Newton faced many challenges from the start. His father, an illiterate farmer, passed away 3 months before his birth, and Newton's mother remarried when he was just 3 years old, leaving him in the care of his grandparents. This early abandonment left an emotional scar on Newton, and he later reflected on his troubled childhood, even recalling moments of anger and rebellion. As a child, Newton was more interested in mechanics than socializing. He demonstrated a natural curiosity, as shown by his creation of a sundial at the age of 9. By 12, he enrolled in a local grammar school, where his academic potential began to shine. Despite his mother's efforts to pull him out of school and turn him into a farmer, Newton's passion for learning led him to the University of Cambridge in 1661. There, he worked as a valet to pay his way and began to study the works of ancient Greek philosophers. However, he soon began questioning their theories, writing in Latin, "Plato is my friend, Aristotle is my friend, but my best friend is truth." In 1665, after receiving his bachelor's degree, the bubonic plague swept through Europe, forcing Cambridge to close. Newton returned to his childhood home, where the next 2 years proved to be pivotal for his scientific journey. During this period, he made some of his most important discoveries. Using a prism, Newton demonstrated that white light was composed of the colors of the rainbow, challenging Aristotle's theory that color was a mix of black and white. Newton also invented the reflecting telescope, which used mirrors instead of lenses, providing more accurate images. This was a safer alternative to his more dangerous experiment of inserting a sewing needle into his eye socket to test how changes in the eye's shape affected color perception. The story of Newton's contemplation of gravity under an apple tree has become legendary. Though there is no evidence the apple actually fell on his head, it is said to have prompted his question, could the same force that pulls an apple to the ground also reach the moon? This led him to develop the theory of gravity and to apply this understanding to explain the movement of planets in the solar system. To explain the motion of celestial bodies, Newton invented calculus. A dispute arose over the invention of calculus when German mathematician Gottfried Leibniz published his work on the subject in 1684. Newton claimed to have developed it 20 years earlier, but due to his secretive nature, he had kept his findings private. Most historians agree that Newton and Leibniz independently discovered calculus. In 1667, after the plague ended, Newton returned to Cambridge, where he would continue his research. By the time he was in his mid-20s, Newton had become a professor of mathematics. His true passion, however, lay in research, and he often neglected his teaching responsibilities. In 1687, he published Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica, Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosophy, known simply as Principia, one of the most important works in the history of science. In Principia, Newton outlined his laws of motion and the law of universal gravitation. His first law described the motion of objects when no force is acting upon them. The second law explained how the mass of an object determines the force required to move it. And the third law stated that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. These laws laid the foundation for classical mechanics. While Newton is most celebrated for his contributions to science, he was also deeply interested in theology. He believed that the Bible contained hidden codes that could explain the natural world and even predict the future. Newton famously predicted the apocalypse would occur in 2060, though he believed it could happen later. His religious views were unconventional, rejecting the doctrine of the Trinity, and he even served briefly as a member of parliament where he opposed attempts to Catholicize the universities. In addition to his religious studies, Newton spent 25 years secretly researching alchemy, the search for turning base metals into gold. His alchemical writings were not publicly known until they were auctioned in 1936. These writings revealed his obsession with the mythical philosopher's stone, which alchemists believed could grant immortality. Unfortunately, Newton's alchemical experiments likely exposed him to mercury, which may have contributed to his mental breakdown in 1693. During this time, he experienced paranoia, insomnia, and depression. In 1696, Newton left Cambridge to become warden and later master of the Royal Mint, where he worked to stop the practice of coin clipping and counterfeiting. He used his scientific precision to reform the minting process and personally prosecuted those who engaged in these crimes. Newton's later years were marked by his desire to solidify his legacy. He became involved in bitter disputes with fellow scientists, such as Robert Hooke, over who deserved credit for various scientific ideas. In 1705, Newton was knighted by Queen Anne, becoming Sir Isaac Newton. Newton passed away on March 20, 1727, and was buried in Westminster Abbey. His legacy is immortalized, with the famous English poet Alexander Pope writing, "Nature and nature's laws lay hid in night." God said, "Let Newton be," and all was light. Newton's contributions to science, mathematics, and our understanding of the natural world continue to influence modern thought and technology. Isaac Newton was a complex figure, a brilliant scientist, a man of deep religious faith, and a secretive, sometimes reclusive individual. His legacy, however, is undeniable. His laws of motion and theory of gravity revolutionized the way we understand the universe, and his work in mathematics laid the groundwork for much of modern physics. Newton's life is a testament to the power of curiosity, perseverance, and the pursuit of truth.